just to recap from where I stopped, I've managed to fix my internet issues. So yeah, okay. So just to recap from where I stopped, I talked about how we have this thing called lists, right? Where basically you can keep more than one item, right? So if you remember from the calculator, remember from the calculator example that I gave. Okay, let me draw. Wait, sorry, let me just so that I can see how much time. Alright, yeah. So I was just drawing a calculator. So if you remember from the calculator example, I talked about how. Oh, sorry. Let me get the pencil tool. I talked about how you can have 2,000, let's say 20 times 30. Um, but then with a list, think of it the same thing. But then now we're having, instead of just having 30, let's say this side, we can have more like values. Let's say 40 and all these things, right? And then 20 can actually be able to multiply this and be able to multiply this. I mean, this doesn't really work like this, but I'm just doing this so that to kind of, because I feel like it's kind of confusing just to say, uh, you know, to kind of give you an idea, let me just say that basically. So, in the case of coding here, right, when we have this, ideally, if you want to reference, let's say this, right, you can't just write weekdays, right? Otherwise, it would just print out the whole weekdays. So, let me show you an example. If I do print weekdays, right, and I run that, okay. Yeah, it will print out the whole weekdays, right? But then if I specify which weekdays I want, let's say 0. Remember, it always starts from 0. A zero index based thing, that's what they call it. It starts from 0. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so if I print that, you will know that, oh, okay, it's talking about this, right? Also, one thing about these, you can actually change the value of something. So I could say weekdays 2, let's say, should be equal to let's say should be equal to 3, let's say. No, let's say 4,000. So weekdays 2 is 0, 1, 2. Yeah, 4,000. And I say print weekdays 2. First, let me put this as a comment so you see how this works. So if I do weekdays 2, it'll print 2,000. But then after I've changed now this, uh, 4,000, right? So you can also change, yeah. So you can also change the values here. But yeah. So I think this is it on this aspect of lists. The next one that I want to explain is dictionaries. Yeah, because I feel like this would be a very good transition to loops. Loops are also very important, not very like a very crucial part of coding. They're, I guess, like the bones of coding. Like when you talk about automating things and doing things over and over again, these loops are what helps you to do that. So to be able to appreciate loops more, I'm going to use this dictionaries. So basically what dictionaries are, right, is let's say you have let's say you have, okay, let me just delete this. You have oh, sorry, let me get this eraser. Just give me a second. All right, sorry. Yeah, so let's say you have information that relates to each other, right? So let's say you're doing this for finance. So let's say you're a bank. No, you have customers. You're dealing with customers, right? So you have, let's say, Bob. Yeah, Bob as your customer. Let's say Bob, and let's say Bob has he is let's say in a specific department. Let's say the transaction was a sale, maybe. Uh, and Bob gave you, let's say, oh, and he also gave you some money, right? So let's just say um, cash, cash, Uh, so yeah, so let's say this is Bob, a customer, and you sold him, let's say, a phone, and he gave you phone, and he gave you, let's say, $1,000, right? And you want to store this record, let's say, in something, right? So I mean, like from this previous lesson, it wouldn't be very effective to keep it like this. Another way of storing this, you can just, write. Oh yeah, it's a perfect transition to dictionaries. Wait. All right. So I was just kind of making myself familiar with this thing. I haven't gone through this thing in a while. But yeah. So basically, let's say, yeah. So how you can keep it here is, let's say you have customer. You can just do this. Sorry, let me just reference there. Yeah. So the notation for it is, you kind of you know you always, if you have to use the same conventions that you use when assigning data values. So if you remember what I said before from this calculator, that you have numbers, um, what else do you have? You have numbers, you have operators like plus, minus, and you have letters and all these things. I talked about strings and floats. Yeah, so for these ones, you also have to use the same convention. I think for most people, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I think it's mainly strings that people use these for. I mean, yeah, I think it's mainly strings. You can go through this thing for more comprehensive, like description of all these things, because they even talk of how to add and remove items. I'm not gonna focus too much on that, because I think that's something you can just read, or if you ever need to use it, you can just use it. But so in the case of our example, we have Bob. We can just say name, and then use this mark, and then Bob, and then we can say uh, sale, sale. We can say, let's say, phone. Sorry, it has to be a string. Phone, and I think it's supposed to put a no. Yeah, it's supposed to put a comma. Yep, it's supposed to put a comma to separate these. Sale phone, and we can say cost. Sorry, cost is so this can be a number, so let's just say $1,000, right? And when you now want to, let's say, refer to a customer, you can just say customer, customer uh, name, sorry, name. Yeah, so let's do this. Let's print this. Print customer name. Yeah, I think let's put these as comments. Oh, okay, that doesn't work here. And yeah, so when you print these, Bob, right? You can say customer cost, uh, you know. So yeah, so I think you really appreciate this concept when you actually work on a project. I remember when I learned this, I didn't get this. I was like, why should you use this? And then I worked on this plagiarism tracking tool, and whenever I'd get results, I needed to, like, what I was doing was, I would get a piece of sentence, right? So I'd have like the sentence name, like let's just say the sentence, right? Sentence, and then I would have the sentence. Let's say the fox jumps or something, right? And then I would have like a link, right? A link, and then I'd have where, let's say, I got this sentence from. Let's say google.com or something like that. Google.com, and then I'd have let's say similarity, right? Similarity, and then I'd have like a percentage, so it could be like, say, 20% or something like that. Oh, that doesn't happen here, but yeah, 20% or something like that. And whenever, like, I was like adding up, comparing different sentences to see you know how they compare to like the overall document or something like that, I'll just say,